Now, one thing that you touched on there is the topic of wearing shorts. But before we dive into the really interesting discussions that I'm sure we're going to have in a second, this all stemmed from your dissertation. So I think I'd love to just hear a bit about how you decided on this topic for your dissertation and a little bit more about this whole journey.
Well, it's related to the hockey journey intimately because I split my year and essentially had the time to go deep into the modules. And in my second year, part two, so when I was 20, I took a module, feminist geographical theory. And for anybody who doesn't understand, like, it's sort of human geography looks at society, politics, and power, essentially how power operates in societies. And feminist theory looks at how gender operates as a power statement and a structure, power structure in society. And of course, I knew that there was discrimination. Of course, I experienced it myself when I was 11 years old playing rugby. And I had a lot of moments, but because I was in a protected school that sort of valued every individual, I didn't really see it. And so when I studied it, my mind just lit up, and I could relate to a certain amount, but I also was really curious about the women in society who are really, really discriminated against, whether that be when it was in the 1950s and the 1900s. The fact that we had only had 100 years of the vote, I just did not understand how we could live in a society like that. So my dissertation really came from this: how am I going to contribute to the feminist movement? My big question to myself was, would I have been a suffragette? And I'm pretty sure I would have been. But, would I have stood with Emmeline Pankhurst and Millicent Fawcett and risked my life? I hope I would have. But I'll only know if I would have if I do something to continue the cause, because we can never go back. And there are societies across the world that are going backwards. Even our society is going backwards. The US, etc. Places we thought were safe are not anymore because of this right-wing extremism that's coming through. Places like Iran, where their current movement is women life freedom, because they want the right not to wear the hijab. They want choice. Mahsa Amini was killed for removing her headscarf, not wearing it correctly. So, as you can tell, I'm very passionate about this, but essentially, I wanted to look into choice and how gender is structured in societies. And originally, I wanted to look at school uniforms themselves. And I had this burning desire to understand, why are we wearing skirts and trousers differently? Then I looked at the government guidelines, and it said that schools can determine if girls can wear trousers. So it's the schools determining, not the girls. I had this sort of burning desire to understand the history of skirts in sport, etc. But I couldn't find a way to prove that skirts were a gender item that discriminated against women, because there's no way in school really to understand if your learning is impacted. However, in a sport context, I train in shorts every day, but I have to wear a skirt with tiny little undershorts underneath to play my match. So all my life I've been uncomfortable, but I never knew I had a choice. And I never thought I had agency to make change. So when I first joined the senior team, I just accepted it. But after my ACL, I was in no mood to mess around. I was in a very F it mood, because I was just like, I have not spent 12 months to come back and wear a skirt, plus all my dissertation work. So that's how I ended up writing my dissertation, because I asked the question, in a school sport uniform context, is it practical, professional, or patriarchal that we continue to wear gendered school sport uniforms? And as you can imagine, it was the latter, because there is no leg to stand on to say that a skirt is more practical than shorts.
Yeah, a very poignant point there. And just so that everyone's aware that's listening, what is the current policy issued by the UK government on uniform for sport in schools?
So school sport uniform and school uniforms generally, it's non-statutory, so there's no government regulation. The only thing that the government say is that they have to abide by the Equality Act 2010, which says you must not discriminate on race, gender, sex, religion, sexual orientation, etc. They do issue guidance, however, which has traditionally been quite problematic. It said schools can determine if girls can wear trousers. It says that currently section 2.17 says that dress standards, different dress standards between boys and girls are standard, are usual. So we're in a state where schools can determine what their kids wear, but what they are left with is a legacy of whatever tradition their school is traditionally operated in, and that is gender division, skirts and trousers, and that is the majority of schools. There are many state schools that offer only one thing when it comes to school sport uniform. A lot of state schools wear shorts, but in the vast majority of schools, it's offering a skirt and essentially a skort to play any sport in, and shorts for the boys. And the reason why it's a big deal is it's kind of threefold. So first of all, the evidence to show that girls are dropping out of sport is huge. So age 14, 10% of girls meet physical activity health standards, only 10%. My research found that over 70% of women have seen girls drop out of sport because of sports kit. So that is a huge issue that we're not addressing. And I think the final point, which is up, is that not only are we gendering an item, which doesn't have to be gendered because men wear kilts, we're talking about practicality, and we're talking about girls' bodies, which comes back to this whole choice thing. So if you at age 5 are a girl and you wear a skirt and the boys wear shorts, by age 6 you assume that all girls wear skirts and all boys wear shorts. At age 7 you think that skirt equals girl and shorts equals boy, and we create this gender divide in sport and in general school. But what that does is leads to a society where there is extreme difference between gender. And whilst there are differences between gender, the extremities of that lead to a lot of misogynistic patriarchal behavior where there's a dominant group over the other. Now let's bring in sport and say that the legacy of sport is that women could only join sport and participate in that masculine area of society if they hyper-feminize themselves. So that's why they wear dresses, why they wear skirts, is because to be accepted in sport, you have to make sure you are visibly feminine, visibly female, because you cannot infringe on the male-dominated arena of sport. So I want us to get back to this understanding of there is now an expectation at age 7 to look a certain way as a girl and to look a certain way as a boy. And that is where we start to see this ideal feminine body in sport emerge, and where girls, if they can't meet that, which is a slender body, toned enough but not too strong, long hair obviously, nice skin, perhaps high skirt. We all know what the ideal feminine body female athlete looks like. If you are vaguely tiny bit off, you are hyper scrutinized to the effect that when you're at school lunch, you're not allowed to wear a skirt or a skort, because your legs will be revealed too much, and that's apparently sexualizing. You think, well, sorry, but who's sexualizing my knees? And you're at age 8, age 9, internalizing these dialogues. And so really simply, this is about participation for girls, and it's also about what we are telling young girls at an age is that they can wear a certain thing, they must look a certain way, they must play the sport in a certain way. When you dive on a hockey pitch in a skirt, it flies up. What does that say? That says don't dive on the hockey pitch. That says play the game differently. It says you're different from the boys. And in a sport, sort of in the world we're living in, I think kit is just it is the most underrated reason why girls drop out of sport, and why there is such a divide in sort of our sort of, I would say, aesthetic of the sports. So it's so intrinsic to everything that we do. It's linked to school uniforms, and I hope to do a project on school uniforms in the future, but I could no longer wear my hockey skort and feel like I was being myself, but that we train in shorts every day. That's the only thing you have to ask. So if performance benefit wise, we would increase our performance. I did a survey with my team. We would increase our performance and our comfort if we could wear shorts. And the genius of it all is that you don't have to want to wear shorts, because you just have to want to allow me to wear shorts, and it's all about choice. And if I just bring it all full circle, really what we're trying to teach young girls by giving them the option of shorts right now, all we're trying to do is say, you can decide what you wear, and in that way you can have control over your own body, and in turn have more empowerment over what happens to your body. And that is priceless for a 7-year-old to learn.
I think you've wonderfully brought it back full circle there. It is all about choice. And one thing I've just pulled from your actual dissertation here is talking about thematic analysis of how people feel pressured to attain the ideal body type. And the top 3 complaints that were registered, and I think let's remember that these are young girls as well. The top 3 complaints were, it's too tight fitting, it's too leg revealing, and it reveals too much of my chest, which I think is just such a problematic finding.
Yeah, it's all alarming. And the thing is that I'd really like to emphasize is that every girl's reason why they want to wear something is different. And also, what's things really interesting about those answers is that you get coached to what is revealing. Because, you know, we all ran around naked when we were once, you know, when you're younger, but then you start to get pressured, and there's certain parts of your body that are sexualized. And I think the only way you'll see girls truly thrive, and if we want to have a society where there's true equality, you have to really change at the root some of those behaviors and those internalized beliefs about what it is to be a woman, because it's what's called feminist consciousness or generational consciousness. We need to change mass consciousness to be able to move to the next level of society. And one of those changes is uniform and identity expression. And it all comes back down to participation in sport. Like, if someone wants to wear a hoodie or leggings or shorts and they're going to continue to play sport, like, why are we stopping them doing that? Because of an aesthetic? Because of tradition? One of my teammates said, what's next? You know, we wear shorts, then what's next? And I'm like, I don't know, people have more choice, they're more enjoyable. Like, what is next? Like, what is the worst that can happen? That, oh, we'll lose the femininity of the game. I'm like, sorry, what part of me wearing a skirt is impacting the femininity of hockey? What does that even mean? Is a gymnast wearing a long leotard going to destroy gymnastics, or is it actually going to mean that there's less sexual harassment and more participation and probably a better result for the whole of gymnastics? Like, these arguments just really frustrate me when people come back at it, because if you go back to participation and enjoyment, you can't ever say that it's not correct.
I love that. Yeah, I love the passion. It's great to hear you speak about it. I've read your dissertation, but hearing you actually speak about it just elevates the level of importance, but I think it kind of conveys it with a lot more intensity. Let's just start to talk about the changes that were actually implemented off the back of this, and how did you go about galvanizing change in the sport?
Yeah, so I had to have a good argument, a good sell, essentially. I went for, we'll increase participation in our game, which is 100% true. And it's alarming the amount that don't participate because of sports kit. And hockey could be a big change in that. And the second thing was performance for the elite team. So you had to come at it. I had to come at it from both angles. I knew about half our team wanted to wear shorts, but they just didn't know they could. I wanted to do something about it, and I was no longer fearful after my ACL. So I went to England Hockey and I asked, can we change our domestic policy, because we have control over that? So it was very quick, actually. We changed it in September 2022 to the right to wear skirts, skirts, or shorts in the same team. And that's really the important bit that we changed, because previously you had to all look uniform, but there was no consideration that you could wear a different item. So we had a discussion, and we believed that a skirt and shorts would look the same if they were the same design and same colour, etc. It went through sailingly well, except that they didn't tell anybody about it. So no one knew. And no brands made hockey shorts, because why would you? Because nobody wears hockey shorts. So we were in sort of this awkward stage between September 2022 and when my paper was published in March 2023, where nobody knew the change had been made, no press release had gone out, and brands weren't even starting to make shorts. So technically I could have worn them last season in the domestic league for my club in the UK, but I couldn't because nobody made them, because nobody knew. What happened in March, I convinced England Hockey that they should post it on Twitter, and I wrote the article for them. That was like eye-catching. Inclusive sports kit policy released by England Hockey allows shorts for the very first time in any competition. So that was good. And it was timed in the same week as my paper, my dissertation, was published. So I went through peer review because I knew that no one was going to take it seriously unless it was fact. So undergraduate dissertations being published is very rare, but I'm very happy that I went through the grueling process, because when it was published, it went alongside a story and a little video about my change desires for the international game, because ultimately I wanted to wear shorts internationally. And because I had my ACL and I was in such an effort mood, I was just like, we have to do this. So we posted this all, and then we came together as a team. There were still some people who were concerned that we were going to lose tradition, but there were people in our team who really stood up in that meeting and who said, we need to do this because it's about changing the face of women's sport, about changing hockey forever, becoming change makers. Our team values are inspire the future, be the difference, and create history. And if that does not scream what we did, then I don't know what will. So it was a very easy sell from that perspective, but a very hard sell to the team. You know, it took me 3 years to build up the confidence to even broach it to England Hockey, and I had to go through all of that. And every time I played for my country in a skirt whilst the changes were being contemplated, something really tugged at my heart. And you know, I played my last international match against Spain in Spain before the Europeans in a skirt, and I was quite happy to say goodbye to it afterwards. Not only that, but we changed our vest tops, so they were compression tank tops, which meant that you bent over, you see cleavage, you have the living daylight sucked out of you because they're compression tops. They're just not performance orientated, and everybody wanted to change those, so we changed our entire uniform, and that's something I'm very proud of, because we said that it was performance-based and we proved that it was performance-based. And at the same time, are we opening a door for participation, for choice, etc.? But fundamentally, do you want us to get the best out of our team? So the participation and performance went really hand in hand. So we submitted a letter to the Federation of International Hockey, and they bizarrely came back very quickly within a month saying yes, and everybody was shocked. And then we had approximately 6 weeks to get a pair of shorts so that we could play at the Europeans and be the first team to do it. And our performance operations manager went out and bought replica shorts to what we had skirts wise, got a tailor to make them look identical to the skirt, and we got it posted to our place in Germany the day before the tournament started. And we ran out against Ireland in half and half shorts. And that was history.
Just in the nick of time.
Honestly. The more interesting bit is what's happened since, which is a mass change in consciousness around shorts and skirts. I wear them for my club. last weekend I ran out with a little mascot, aged 9, called Millie, who was wearing a pair of EG shorts. And I asked her, Millie, that's amazing. You're wearing shorts. Why are you wearing shorts? Uh, I I chose to wear shorts. And I was like, oh, this is exactly that I've been waiting for my whole sort of last 4 years, is the moment when a young girl says to me, why are you making such a big deal? I'm wearing shorts. The development of shorts, it's a brand new market, if you like. So brands are starting to get involved, which is great. They're starting to put R&D into it. And across the country, we are seeing women wearing what they want and messaging me every time they do, saying thank you. Not only that, but a few days ago I got a message from a mother of a French girl, I guess, saying that her daughter Solveig refused to wear the skirt in her French hockey club, so much so that she was about to quit. She wanted to wear shorts. She didn't know why. She didn't know anything about me, but she wanted to wear shorts on her own volition. And the club said no. The girl was about to quit. So the mother wrote into the French Hockey Federation, because she had Googled my work and England hockey, trying to understand. And the Federation of International Hockey says you can wear skirts or shorts. So surely it should be the fact in French hockey. She emailed in, and within a few weeks, French hockey had changed their policy. And so she messaged me a few days ago to say thank you, and with a photo of her young daughter wearing shorts with a sign that said Merci Tess. And now it's going international, and those sorts of stories I'm getting flooded in on my inbox, and it's just the most amazing feeling to think that that girl is going to stay in hockey because of something that I was part of or pioneered, and that she stays in our sport and she stays being true to who she is. That's cool. That's really cool.
That's a wonderful story, and I think it really is testament to all the hard work and graft that you've really put in to get this over the lines. It's amazing to hear all of the positive news and stories of people that are now feeling liberated and like they have a choice.
Thanks.
So one thing that I've pulled up here is just a little quote that I found that you said, and the quote is, "If not now, when? If not us, who? The time is now." And I think that beautifully sums up your attitude and the way that you've gone about taking your research and implementing it. I don't know if you have anything further to add on that phrase.
No, my dream is still the same as it's been. I want to go to the Olympics, but I want to go to the Olympics in shorts. And to know that at least half of that dream is there is very special, and I'll do everything I can to be out there, because not only will I be, essentially living, wearing my truth, feeling comfortable, but in the grand scheme of the Olympics being in Paris, in a place where religious expression and women's expression particularly is reduced, is limited, it will be really special, because as much as this is about shorts, it's not really about me. It's been about that empowerment, choice, reclaiming the right for women to choose what happens to their body. And if that sits in the same category as the right to wear or not to wear the hijab. And I don't think any government should ever be in a place to determine what somebody should wear, because after all, it's just clothes. And I think my closing point is a beautiful quote from Symes and Meadmore, who are in my dissertation. They say, "Clothes veil the body, but unveil, through the clues they provide, much about its place in society." I feel like we've changed the place of women's hockey in society based on shorts, and I think that's really cool. But there's so much more to do, and it's quite exciting.
Literally.
Arriving. Hang on. Let me just open the door for her.
Yeah, of course. So I'm someone that's grown up playing sport, and one day I'll imagine that I have kids. And having spoken to some of my female friends, and after talking to you, I realised that growing up and playing sport is quite a very different experience for women. And then this year you were nominated for the Changemaker Award at the Sunday Times Sportswomen of the Year. Just how did that feel?
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing. I felt like it was something that our whole team did, but it came from my research, and so that's pretty special. I think to be on the stage with Mary Earps there winning the award for Sportswoman of the Year, and me there for Changemaker, and then just to join the dots and think we're all sort of linked is really cool. Just very grateful, I think, for everybody who's been on the journey. My voice was only really found through the Women's Sports Trust, who created a program called Unlocked, where they got 30 athletes and paired them with mentors. And my mentor, Susie Levy, is an absolute powerhouse human being who I call my Batman, who I took to the event when I was nominated. And she is a go-getter. And I said to her, I want to change hockey policy. And she said, let's fricking do it. And to have somebody in my corner for the last 3 years has been, more than anything I could have imagined. My family as well have always backed it. They've listened to me at the dinner table go on and on about feminism and shorts and how I'm going to do it, etc. And so very grateful for them.
Yeah, it's almost like you've read my questions here, because my next leading statement was about you being a go-getter, and you've stolen the words straight from my mouth. But by being a go-getter, what I mean is that you've kind of had an idea, you've put the words on paper, but then more importantly, you've galvanized action. You didn't enter this eternal planning phase, which a lot of people, and including myself, have been guilty of entering this. I'll do it when, or I'll do this once. What advice would you have for people that want to turn their thoughts into actions?
I think it all starts small with an idea, and I've had a lot of ideas, but none of them have stuck like this one. And I was notoriously a starter and not a finisher in terms of ideas and businesses, etc. Like I just loved creating things, but I never followed through. But this was something I was so passionate about that I could not sleep at night because of it. It kept me up. I would work until 2 a.m. trying to work out how I'm going to do it. And then I was just relentless. So it starts with the passion because I love it. I love it. And I love the reward now of seeing the effect that it's had. Bloody hard, but if you're passionate about it, you will find the energy for it. So my advice is, if you're not passionate about it, don't do it, because you'll never sustain it. But if you're passionate about it, it's basically just fun, isn't it?
And part of the reason that I started this podcast was to demonstrate the power of sport as a vehicle for change beyond its commercial nature, which I think is something that you're definitely on board with doing. In your own words, how would you describe the power of sport?
I really see it as an agent of empowerment for your character. And I would not be the character I am today if I hadn't have had sport. It's brought me out of my shell through sport, through putting yourself out there. You grow your personality and you find your personality. And I'm really grateful for sport for doing that. I also think it's a massive community builder. I mean, you can see by the tribalism in football, you can see by the patriotism in the Olympics. It's a massive community builder, big nation states, but also individual friendships. And my community from Cambridge City when I was 14 is still very much intact. So the power of sport is very locally felt, but I also think it has a huge impact. Like the Olympics this year is vital for our world right now. We'll have all countries who are in the middle of wars with each other. We won't have Russia because they're banned, but the point being, it's a coming together. And I just think athletes need to wake up and realise that they are in a political space. And I think it was good to see last Olympics, Tokyo, with the Black Lives Matter protests going on at the same time. We could see political statements being allowed in the Olympics. And I think that if the IOC really want to do something, then whilst you maintain the integrity of the games, you make it about something bigger.
Perfect. And if you were to, who is someone in your life that inspires you, past or present?
Well, I've got a mouse mat of Ruth Bader Ginsburg right here. There are many, many people in my life who inspire me. My mom, my dad, my younger brother, who's, uh, you know, one of my best friends. But who really, really inspires me to be better every day are those who laid their lives down and sacrificed a lot for my right to go to school, my right to have the vote, and I cannot put into words just how deeply I feel what they've done. And so what I am left with is this probably never ending desire to make at least women's lives a bit better, because I care about everybody, but at the same time, the most threatened lives at the moment are the most vulnerable in our community. And I want to make sure, just like I want to make sure my teammates feel included, I want to make sure.
So what is one piece of advice that you would like to share with us?
Use your voice. That's it. Use your voice and include people. That's the advice I would give. Life will be better for everyone.
It's perfect. And for the people at home that want to find you or kind of learn a little bit more about what you've done, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, Instagram, Howard_Tess. Or you can probably just type in my name, Tess Howard. Otherwise, my company, which is looking to expand the inclusive sportswear movement, is called Inclusive Sportswear. So you can look that up as well.
Perfect. Well, Tess, thank you so much for all of your time. It's been great to have you on.
No, I've really enjoyed it. Thanks for letting me speak my truth.
You're welcome.